So I didn't end up posting anything yesterday, so I have missed out on a couple pieces of news. And so I want to just compound the last day or two of news into one big video. And it will be pretty interesting because some stuff has happened that's not just about completions and verifications. But we will start with progression videos, verifications, and completions, and we're on Zoink's profile here, so yep, we're starting with Zoink, because he was able to beat Ultra Paracosm. I think that he is the first victor, I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he is. Now, we did fluke this from 54, but that's to be expected because all of the wave is before that. There's only like a couple percent after that that's the wave part, and then it's on to this ending, which still is pretty difficult, but comparatively is not as hard. So call it a fluke if you want, but you know, some people might see it as not a fluke. And if he was to beat this a few days earlier, it would have been the hardest rated 9 circles level ever beaten, and he would be its first victor. However, that is sadly not the case for Zoink at least, but it happily is the case for another player because we saw another level get rated that's even harder. Because recently we saw Antarctic Lights get rated, which is another 9 circles level, this time being a kind of remake or reimagination of Arctic Lights, which was another very hard 9 circles level for its time. I don't remember exactly if it's supposed to be like a remaster or a remake or a sequel, but it is verified by Xinity, and it got rated, which is really cool because honestly, a lot of people were thinking that this wasn't gonna get rated, or if it was, it would take months to happen, because if we're being honest, this looks very similar to Arctic Lights. It's more flashier and the colors pop better, but it is very similar, and it's a 9 circles level, and Robtop has a history of not rating those too fast. But yeah, it got rated, thankfully, so it can be placed on the main demon list. Now, it's stated that this is Acheron difficulty by the verifier, but I have seen many people say that this thing is like top 10 in difficulty, so we really don't know the placement until we get another person that beats it to give us an accurate measurement. But yeah, we'll see where this places. We'll see if it is in fact Acheron difficulty, or everyone's right, and it is top 10. We also had a player called CC make incredible progress, getting 65% on Eternal Silence, and Eternal Silence is essentially unnerfed Silent Club Step, except it is using the redecorated version that Kuluk made. However, everyone is playing this on the LDM, which makes it look like the normal Silent Club Step. Technically, actually, isn't Silent Club Step. They're very slight changes from what I know, but it essentially is unnerfed Silent Club Step, which is way harder than the actual rated one. What's interesting is this was posted like 8 days after the 100% completion of the regular Silent Club Step from CC. But we know he's been playing it for way longer because we have this unnerfed run getting 4 to 65. But obviously, as you know by now, No Name has dropped the verification of this level, so a lot of people are now going for it, and so CC can put full effort on Eternal Silence. And that is what's happened. There's other people who have made some incredible progress on this level, but 65 is such a crazy achievement that I just had to mention it here, because we are pretty much at where No Name was now from the jump, right after he dropped it. So that is really great to see, and we might actually see this get verified very soon. Could be top 1. People were speculating it could be top 1 when Thinking Space 2 was the top 1. Now, maybe not so much because Society is verified, but honestly, there still is a chance. But then also there's been people who are saying it's not even top 3, so we'll see what happens. We can also talk about Karma here, because Karma just got 57 to 100 on a potential top 10 called Blood Engine. And this is to be expected because we've known Karma wants to get back to Blood Engine, but there was a couple verifications that needed to be done first. We've covered Baseline Junkie, which got verified by Karma, and also Distortion, which we also covered. And Karma's verified other levels like Angel's Trumpet and End. But Blood Engine is by far the hardest one of all of them. As you can see, it is top 10 in difficulty. Now, this version is slightly harder and more balanced from other versions of the level, but Karma thinks that this 57 to 100 run is about as hard, if not harder, than Firework in difficulty, which should put into perspective how hard this level is. The top 1 from the 2021 era being the same difficulty as 57 to 100 on the top 10 shows just how far we've progressed, and I like this level. It's pretty interesting. It's nothing too special, but, you know, it's got cool end screen and, you know, good enough decoration, good enough looking gameplay. I can't wait for it. We also were able to see Nepesta beat Silent Locked, being his new personal hardest and actually a fluke from 76, which is quite impressive. Saying it's a new personal hardest is quite an interesting take, because as we know, Nepesta's current hardest is the ranked 32 level Deimos, which was a very impressive completion. However, Silent Locked is ranked all the way down at 42. I say all the way down, but saying out loud isn't too much of a difference. But considering how difficulty scales on the demon list, 32 from 42 is a very big jump, so thinking it's a personal hardest after a fluke is kinda crazy to see. Nepesta is still gonna be one of the very few people who have actually beaten this level. It currently only has 6 victors, according to the demon list. I think there might be more, but the Russian community kinda dipped, right? But this is still very, very impressive. And lastly, the big fish that everyone probably wanted me to cover yesterday, but I just didn't have time. Cosmos Unleashed 69% and 14 to 81. Of course, this is done by our Shadow. He's been verifying this level for goodness knows how long, and it's looking to finally come to a close because this is after the nerfs to the level, right? And thanks to the kind of time limit to beat this, plus the nerfed version of it now being verified, it means that we're finally gonna probably see this get verified pretty soon. He also got 63 on this level as well, so very, very close to actually beating this now. I'm not gonna talk too much about the level itself, because I've already made a video on it, and quite frankly, I don't want to talk about it again, but this is going to be still a huge achievement to see. Obviously, a nerfed version of this level already was verified that's slightly harder than Tidal Wave, however, this version, while still being nerfed, is a lot more difficult than that, and it is still projected to be top 1. The level used to be, before this nerf update, be kind of this future top 1, where we've got levels like Grief and Heliopolis and Society that would get verified first, right? And then this level would be the next rung of difficulty. But now it is more closer to being that Heliopolis kind of Grief difficulty, but it's still probably going to be top 1 if it was verified at this moment right now. But that's us done with the level progress segment, so now let's get on to talking about other things, and I want to talk about Crazy 4. This is being built by DavJT, and you know him for the Crazy series. It was super popular when it happened. This is like the skeletal shenanigans of a couple years back. Crazy 3 was such a huge level and is so iconic, and even the original 2 Crazy levels for their time were very, very popular. I wouldn't say they went kind of mainstream in the YouTube sphere, but Crazy 3 definitely did. And a bit ago, DavJT announced that Crazy 4 would actually be being made, and it was gonna come out, and 7 days ago, we got a video of the level. And while, yes, we got a video, we didn't necessarily get the level, actually, because this is what it is. It is just a black screen. There isn't much to it at all. There is really nothing here. It is just this. I kid you not, when you go into the level, this is all it was. And it seemed kind of sad, because it seemed like DavJT just said this, you know, for the sake of it, because he didn't actually want to make Crazy 4, but so many people were asking for it that, you know, he just did this. However, that wasn't necessarily the case. We were thrown a bone with him making a message saying the level may evolve in the description. And 12 hours ago, wouldn't you know, we got our first evolution, and he sent the ID out. This is going to be the new updated version of Crazy 4. And when we go into the level, this is it, but it is actually changing. Through this whole level, it does do a couple weird things. There's a couple more noises if you go into the level, but the effects here look completely different, and a bunch of abstract stuff is happening. And genuinely, I am so happy. I'm so happy that stuff is actually happening with this level. I was so sad to see that this might not actually be a thing, and DavJT is just doing it because people kept asking. But honestly, if this is what's gonna happen, the level's gonna keep evolving until the number goes down to like 20, 19, 18, all the way to 1, and then we get the level released, I genuinely cannot wait for that. That is such an interesting concept. We saw that with stuff like Battle of the Shades, but that was on a very sporadic basis, and it was changing the level completely, pretty much. This is kind of the level forming and adapting with actual lore behind it by the looks of things. It genuinely is making the release of this level so much more interesting, because we don't know what it could be. Like, what are we actually gonna get here? We do not know. We can have guesses, but I feel like this early on into its evolution, oh cool, new level got rated. But I feel like we are too early onto its evolution cycle to really guess what this could be, but I can't wait to stay tuned with this level because it's made its release way more interesting. I cannot wait for this. RobTop himself also posted something on Twitter. He started hinting at the new event level that was coming. He kind of feels a lot more in touch with the event levels now, and this one is going to be a collab between 3 music artists, Temanite and Creo being the main one. And I don't really have much more to say on this because I'm not really too in touch with event level stuff, but you know, I feel like I should have posted this here anyways because it's RobTop. I feel like anything that RobTop posts I need to cover. I will say, is it just me, but Exile Sounds posted this on April 30th, which is a moai, and he's just animating it, right? And then if we look up here to this, they kind of look similar. I don't know, maybe that's just a guess. I don't actually know what this is. It could just be something else, but maybe this is like an Easter Island level or something. I don't know. And Cairo X, the host and creator of many levels, also kind of showed the first preview to a new level that may or may not come out. I don't know when, because obviously the level isn't decorated like at all, or if it is, it's barely started. But basically, this is going to be his own tribute/sequel to Plasma Pulse Finale. A bit weird that we're making a sequel to Plasma Pulse Finale. Are we gonna get a Barbaros finale situation here? But this is still cool to see. I think it's an interesting project. It's supposed to be very hard, but not top 1. Obviously, the Plasma Pulse series is a very interesting one, built and verified by Gyron and Smokes, 2 very, very influential people in the community. With Plasma Pulse Finale itself even being top 1 at one point, the top 1 before Bloodlust. However, I feel like this is one of the more forgettable ones. Not for me, I've always loved it, but most people forget levels like Plasma Pulse Finale and Stalemate Redux when they talk about top 1s. I mean, I get stuff like Stalemate Redux because it barely lasted, right? But Plasma Pulse Finale did last for a good few months, so it's kind of weird that people forget it. Obviously, I know there's way more obscure ones than those 2 that I mentioned, but it's just, you know, an example. Editing being here, also, as I was editing this video, RobTop decided to rate one of the hardest unrated levels that we thought could get a rate in the form of Make Paul Dance, so it's going to be interesting to see that get placed. Go check that level out. And also, the blue places today as I make this video, so maybe I'll make a second one on that. If I'm sleeping when it happens, then maybe not. We'll see. Editing being again, it just got placed at 10. Okay, no new video on it. It happened already. It got placed at 10. Very cool. Thank you, Zoink, for your very trustworthy opinions. But that is all for today's video. It was a lot of stuff. I probably missed a lot of stuff as well, but I feel like I covered a good amount of stuff, and I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something new here, and don't have much more to say. Thanks for watching, and peace.